You know, Egypt is a very important milestone, particularly for us as hosts for COP28, because there are so many decisions that are going to be had at this COP that will have an impact for us. This COP is really about implementation, and the Egyptians have made a really big effort to try to come to outcomes here, particularly for the global south, for many of the poorest countries in the world who are really facing the impacts of climate change today. And it's really important that the world takes steps to address the challenges that they're facing, and that's going to happen hopefully at this COP.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of those steps. You were at the negotiating table for the Paris meeting. What needs to happen to make some of those promises, some of those pledges a reality?
You know, in Paris, what we were doing was really setting a kind of agenda, a kind of hope to achieve 1.5 degrees. And over the years, we've been really falling short. And what most of these COPs are trying to do are to get us back on track. And we hope that in COP28, we can really start to talk about what are the practical solutions, the really pragmatic things that we can do. And those have to happen on many levels. They have to happen in mitigation, so we need to be addressing the issues of the emissions that we're creating today. We have to improve our energy efficiency. We have to improve how we use water, how we live in lots of ways to reduce our emissions. But also when it comes to adaptation, as I mentioned, some of the countries like ours, some of the poorest countries in the world are facing the effects of climate change today, and we really have to think about how we address those concerns and those challenges that those countries are facing. And so the important negotiations that happen here are really setting the tone for how countries are going to move forward to take action to address these global challenges.
Well, the new chair for UN climate change has said that he needs to, or we need to see the current economic circumstances almost divorced from the negotiations. How much does what we're seeing at the moment, fear of recession, high inflation, colour the negotiations that are going to go on in the next couple of days?
I think that everybody knows that we're in a really challenging economic environment, and all the forecasts are for even more troubles to come. But that's what makes this conversation much more important. And I think that what you've seen in the UAE is our leadership have really been at the forefront of turning that question around about how can we take the challenge of climate change and make it into an opportunity. As you know, the UAE has been on track for diversifying our economy away from oil and gas. We're an oil and gas producing country. We've built our country off of that, and we're proud of that, and we will be for a long time. But our leadership have really taken that step to diversify our economy, to find new jobs for young people, to find new opportunities, new industries. And climate change offers that opportunity by having new green industries, energy efficiency industries, all sorts of different types of new jobs. It can be seen as an opportunity, and it doesn't have to be seen as a challenge.
You mentioned the Global South there. How much of an impact will the climate change leadership effectively being held by two Arab countries for 24 whole months have on what comes out of not just the negotiations, but the procedures after them?
I think what you see in Egypt and the UAE are not just Arab countries. You see countries that understand the issues of the global south. So really, this is great for developing countries. It's great for those countries who want to address climate change, who want to tackle this challenge, but want to do something about it. Often, in some cases, they're unable to. They might have challenges financially or challenges technologically, even capacity. And for two countries like ours to have this, the custodianship of the COP, if you will, I think it really speaks well for our region, but also for those countries because we can represent them very well. You know, the UAE is a very well-developed country. You know, we live in great cities that have grown really rapidly, but we understand that not long ago we faced those same challenges of many developing countries. And so we have a clear sight on the needs of those countries. And, you know, our leadership has really invested in a lot of this. We've spent $50 billion in aid support to renewable energy for Pacific Islands and other developing countries. We have agreements with the US for a mobilization of $100 billion. We have all sorts of renewable energy projects. We're one of the largest investors in renewable energy globally. So really, I think that we speak to those challenges and how to address them. And we know very well how to help a lot of the developing countries who really want to get these technologies, really want to address climate change, and really want to do something about this challenge.
So this is being called the implementation COP. COP28, our COP, is being called the stock-taking COP. How does what's going to happen here lead us into what will happen next in the UAE?
Well, the UAE is really a milestone COP. You know, the Paris Climate Agreement mandated that there would be a global stocktake. This is like a report card of what has happened since Paris. So it's really important. But that doesn't have to only be backward looking. It also should be forward looking. So what's really important about our COP is that we set the agenda for the next 5, 10, 15 years of how we can get back on track to achieve 1.5 degrees. And I think that makes our COP really, really important. And of course, the decisions that are made here in Sharm el-Sheikh have a rollover effect, or they add to the momentum that helps us to get a successful outcome. And we really are supporting our Egyptian brothers and colleagues to have a successful COP. And we think that they're definitely in a great position to do so.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Join the conversation.